The Gospel of Gold by G.S. Lewis. He lost his battle to Bugsy, Marina continued, and it seemed to be the only thing on his mind when he finally got back last night. You were sound asleep by then. I tried to approach the subject gently of him meeting up with a man who's secretly from Team Rocket. Marina paused. After a moment, she went on. I wasn't direct. I knew that his Pokemon were injured and exhausted, and that even between the both of us, there wasn't enough money for the Pokemon Center. I asked him what he would do now. I don't know yet, he replied, but I can't give up now. At that point, Mr. Kurt approached and put some stew in front of him, but he didn't eat any. Kurt suggested that we simply wait for his Pokemon to heal naturally, like all non-official trainers in the area had learned to do. I remember that Jinichi then banged the table so hard with his fists that he almost knocked the bowl over. He shouted that he couldn't wait that long because of the time limit still in effect. I can't believe that you slept through that. I keep hearing mentions of that stupid time limit, remarked Gold. If the goal is to become a strong enough trainer to challenge the League's Elite Four, why do they trap you in a particular window of time? It's not like they have time restraints to keep them from getting stronger. It's because the official League tournament commences at the end of summer, replied Marina with a hint of exasperation. And you have to win the tournament for the right to challenge the Elite Four. You'd know this if you had attended Professor Elm's orientation. Gold was about to reply to that, but Marina bowled ahead. Anyway, I'm on your side, so don't get mad. Gold tilted his head. What do you mean? I've decided to stop challenging gyms while my Pokemon are whole and well, Marina said shyly. You've convinced me. I meant to tell you sooner, but it's been one thing right after the next, and I wanted to tell Jinichi first. He's been with me up until now. Oh, said Gold. The news of her self-reform had almost robbed him of speech. Okay. Marina sighed. I told Jinichi I was stopping in hopes that it would make the option easier for him. That was when he really shut down on me. He just gave me this look of complete betrayal, one that lasted. For just a moment, Gold thought he heard a choked gurgle from Marina's side of the screen, but it was quickly cut off. Then he took his bowl of stew and went off to the furthest corner of the room by himself. He remained there for the remainder of the night, even when the bowl was long empty, and refused to talk to anyone. I never actually got around to telling him about that Team Rocket guy after all. That brings us to this morning's texts. Jinichi sent a message to my Pokegear that woke me up, explaining why he was gone. I won't be reading that one out loud, but the basic gist is that he had left early to carry out some sort of plan. If it worked for him, he would return and try to bring me into it, assuming I was willing to change my mind from last night. Then, about 20 minutes ago... Marina cleared her throat, and her voice changed to a different tone, signifying that she was now reading someone else's words. Marina, I got my Hive badge, but at an unexpected price. There is no reason you should have to pay it too, but you will if we travel together any longer. I said I would come back to you. Trust me, I wanted to, but I can't now. Please don't look for me. I'm sorry about the way I acted last night. I wish we could have parted under better circumstances, but I will always cherish the memory of your company. Yours, Jinichi. Gold suddenly felt very hot in the tub. He pulled himself out and wrapped the towel around his body, his mind sharp and alert again. Whatever deal Jinichi had formed with Proton, it was surely something nefarious and ill-intentioned on the Rocket's part. "What did he do?" whimpered Marina, sounding more stressed than ever. "I wish I could have found out," Gold replied with bitter regret. He hated that the encounter with Silver had caused him to miss the vital meeting. Even more, he was ashamed that he had been dreaming frivolous dreams of a romanticized gym campaign, while reality was so much worse. "Let's eat breakfast. Then we'll look for him where he last was." After eating, and a quick bath on Marina's part, the two guests parted from Kurt with many thanks for all of his hospitality. By the time they made it to Azalea Gym, it was mid-morning. They found Mayor Bugsy just inside the entrance, sitting on a stool and applying the finishing touches to a bandaged-up Scyther. He looked up as they entered through the glass double doors, holding a spray potion in one hand. His eyes narrowed slightly at the sight of Gold. "If you're here for a gym battle, I'm not available at the moment," he said. "There's a schedule on the wall by my office, though, so feel free to sign up on any of the open slots." "We're looking for our friend Jinichi," said Marina with a wave of her hand. "You fought with him earlier this morning, right?" The mayor nodded and indicated to his injured Scyther. "He won his match, so obviously, he's long gone by now." Gold bristled a bit at the mayor's cutting tone, but he did not want to draw attention to himself. He stood back a couple of steps and let Marina do the talking. "His entire team was a mess last night, and he couldn't access the Pokemon Center," Marina said doubtfully. "But you're telling me that his Pokemon were suddenly recovered enough to battle again? And win this time? How did that happen?" The mayor gave her a disdainful look. "A good night's sleep? A creative shift in strategy, perhaps? You make it sound so implausible, but this happens all the time. I'll show a replay of the match if you want." Gold figured that Marina would wave the offer away and ask if Jinichi had mentioned to the gym leader where he was headed next. However, she raised her eyebrows instead, looking suddenly interested. "All right then," she said. "Play the tape." For a moment, Gold thought he saw the mayor pause, as if he hadn't expected his offer to be taken. Then he shrugged and whistled. Out of a nearby tree flew his Butterfree, disappearing into his box-like office without further instruction. It emerged a few seconds later, wheeling a television out on a stand. The mayor returned his attention to his spray potion, while Gold and Marina watched the battle replay video. The camera was set up to view the match from a side angle that captured the entirety of the battlefield. There was Jinichi on the challenger's side, loosing the Pokeball that unleashed his monstrous Onix. On the gym leader's side, the oversized green mantis with scythe claws appeared, crouched in a Bushido stance. The sheer size difference between the two put an immediate impression on Gold's mind, that Bugsy's Scyther stood no chance. Then, the match commenced, and Scyther disappeared. Onix's body began to jerk suddenly and wildly, as if the stone serpent was being assailed by high-caliber sniper bullets from every direction. Every now and then, the camera would catch momentary frames of Scyther reappearing, usually after a particularly brutal swing that required extra effort. The hits did little damage at first, considering Onix's rock-hard defense. However, as time went on, bits and pieces of the stony skin were jarred loose and flew everywhere. Onix had no chance to counterattack. Before a full minute had elapsed, it thudded to the ground in defeat. "I can't believe it," whispered Marina, staring at the screen. "And therein lies your problem," said the mayor casually, with some edge in his voice. You can't imagine the world in which a grasshopper beats a 500-pound rock snake. We've fought enough Onyx trainers over the years to make it so. Gold couldn't help himself. You're telling me that Jinichi came back and won this battle? He blurted. The mayor gave him an unfriendly glance. Does it look like he made a comeback? He asked sarcastically. This was last night's match. Gold looked back at the screen. Jinichi's bayleaf had been called out and stood quivering in evident terror as Scyther scraped its blades together. His mind flashed back to the bayleaf from a few days back, so beaten and bruised from Faulkner's gym that its coloration resembled an overripe banana. He shuddered in anticipation of the inevitable fate that awaited this one, the fate that had actually already befallen it. This one's from last night? Echoed Marina, dragging her eyes away from the screen. Gold forced himself to look away as well, but he couldn't block out the screams of animal pain that issued through the audio. What about this morning's? I can't show you that one. The mayor put his hands on his hips. It was a victory, and policy states that wins can't be replayed, because they give away winning strategies to challengers who hadn't earned them. The agonized screams had died down. The tape now showed Bayleaf's body limp upon the battle floor, with a pool of green substance spreading slowly underneath it. Jinichi summoned his Pokemon back in a beam of red light, but the stain on the battlefield remained. Turn it off! Gold begged, as the feeling of sickness rose in his chest. The mayor nodded to Butterfree, and the screen went mercifully dark. You're telling me a good sleep fixed that? Marina cried incredulously. Without a Pokemon Center, it would take the rest of the summer to come back from such a beating! An impatient scowl broke on the mayor's face. I'm starting to tire of answering all your doubts, he said testily. I'm telling you, Jinichi's Pokemon were fighting fit when he came back this morning. Ask him about it yourself. Or, if you want to see how he won, defeat my gym. Gold and Marina exchanged glances. Did Jinichi say where he was headed after he got your badge? Asked Marina. To the location of the next badge, replied the mayor. Where else? I told him that the next gym was to the north in Goldenrod City. You'd need to pass through the Ilex Forest to get there. The two of them nodded and were halfway to the doors when the mayor's voice called to them again. So, are you going to sign up for a gym battle? Marina spun around and glared at him. After seeing that video? Are you crazy? For the first time, the mayor looked surprised. Am I crazy? He asked back. Do you mean to say that you're not even going to try for this badge? Yes, said Marina with deadpan seriousness. That is what I mean. The mayor opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. You know that you can't participate in the league without 8 badges, right? He reasoned. Where's your fighting spirit? This is too one-sided to be called a fair fight. I don't know what Jinichi and the other trainers did to somehow beat you, but I'm going to find out. Marina turned on her heel and marched crisply through the doors. The mayor looked from her retreating figure to Gold, who was holding one door open with his arm. He breathed in deeply through his nose, then exhaled out of his mouth in what sounded like a self-calming exercise. However, the look he gave Gold was withering. You did this, he said icily, pointing at Gold. I warned you to stop spreading anti-league propaganda to official trainers. What? The insanity of the statement nearly floored Gold. He and the mayor were on utterly different wavelengths. Gold motioned emphatically at the black television screen. There's your anti-league propaganda! Don't you see? How is it that both of us can view the same thing and react so oppositely? Enough. The mayor pointed at the door. Get out of my town. If you're still here by noon, I'll have Scyther hunt you down.